What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Now, today I've got for you 3 Am I the Jerk posts, which you're going to absolutely love. The first one is pretty terrifying. All I will say is it involves a man that has a psychopathic minute or two involving a gun and his pregnant wife. Now, don't worry, nobody actually gets hurt, but it's a very, very scary moment for this individual. Without further ado, let's jump straight into that story. Oh, but actually, before we do that, I just want to do a little test. So if you are watching this on YouTube, make sure to not have the video in full screen, and I want to see if something happens. Please like and subscribe. Now, tell me in the comments down below, did the like button and the subscribe button do something there? As in, like, you know, was there an animation? I hope there was. Anyway, let's stop waffling and let's get into the story. Oh, and if you're listening on a podcast platform, just ignore all of that. Let's go. My husband turned into a psychopath for a split second yesterday, and I don't know if I am overreacting. I want to say that my husband has never ever behaved like this before. This is the first time he's ever scared me, and I have no idea what to do. I am 23 weeks pregnant with our first baby, and we've been married for 3 years. I am a 24-year-old woman, and he is 32. My husband owns firearms and works in law enforcement and is trained to handle them safely. They stay in a locked safe at home, and he's never once played around with them. All of that is for context. So, as for what happened yesterday, I was simply walking through the kitchen as I noticed my husband at the kitchen counter looking at one of the firearms. I didn't say anything, but I looked over at him, wondering what he was doing. He'd gotten home from work, and right before this, we talked for a bit, had dinner, and I took a shower. Everything was good and normal. As I looked at him, my husband looked up at me and stared for a second, blinked, and then picked the gun up and pointed it at my tummy with a complete straight face. My heart frickin' dropped, of course, and I smacked the gun down. My husband then started laughing, but the split second of pure seriousness on his face was terrifying. I asked him why the heck he did that, and he says, "Do you think it scared him?" Talking about, I assume, the baby. I didn't know what to say, but tears welled up in my eyes. This prompted a half an hour long apology and hours of comfort from him, with claims that he wasn't thinking, but also that he was just joking. The look in his eyes scared me. The fact that he pointed the gun at me is terrifying. I don't know what to do. I'm so upset. I'm so distraught. Am I overreacting? Well, you're obviously not overreacting, OP. That is a genuinely terrifying moment. How could that ever be a joke? It's just not, you just would never point a gun at anyone ever as a joke. It's just insane. You know, we've seen throughout history, and, you know, quite recently, to be fair, stories where people have done this sort of thing, not realized there was a bullet in the chamber or whatever, and yeah, it's been tragic things. But the main thing that's going on here, which is really, really scary for you, is that, like, it doesn't even seem to be that remorseful about it. And why would you even do this in the first place? Like, I would never, ever do this. It's such a crazy thing to do. If you are going to joke around like that, there are probably less dangerous jokes you can make than pointing a gun at your pregnant wife's belly. But hey, maybe that's just me. I don't know. You'd have to have serious questions about your relationship now. Very, very weird. Yeah, the look on his face and the seriousness is the terrifying thing there, let alone the fact that he's pointed a gun at you. Wow. Now moving on to our next post. This has 2 parts. The original was posted 6 days ago at the time of recording, but there's also an update posted just a few days ago, which we'll get into afterwards. Am I the jerk for laughing in my sister-in-law's face when she DNA tested my daughter? I am a 30-year-old man, and I have a daughter who is 6. I am not biologically related to her at all. There is no blood relation between us. I was friends with her mother for most of all of my childhood. We were never involved romantically, and we were always just friends. She had her daughter at 23 with her 25-year-old husband. When my daughter was a newborn, about 3 months technically, both her mother and father were killed. I won't go into too much detail for privacy reasons, but it was a workplace shooting. Oh wow. My friend and her husband had worked in the same building and were both killed. Both my friend and her husband had grown up with less than ideal families and didn't have any siblings, so there wasn't any next of kin for their daughter to go to. However, because I was close with them, I was able to adopt her. Even though I'd been iffy about the idea of kids, I didn't want their daughter to grow up in foster care or around people who didn't have a connection to her bio parents. So I stepped in. My parents and siblings know that my daughter is not my actual daughter, biologically speaking. My daughter, I'll call Lily for the post, also knows that she's adopted. I never really hid the fact that she was adopted. She knows that her parents are dead and they were killed by a bad man, but I'm saving the details for when she's older. Lily does not look like me at all. She looks exactly like her mother and biological dad. Most people assume that I'm her bio dad and that she just took after her mum. I don't ever really correct this when and if people assume this because it just seems unnecessary. My brother has been with his fiancée for about 2 years now. A few weeks ago, we were all meeting up at my parents' house and my sister-in-law saw an old picture of me, my friend, and her husband. She pointed to my friend and asked who she was, and I explained that that was Lily's mother. She then got quiet and stood in front of the picture for a while. I didn't think much of it. To clarify, she knows that my friend died, but I guess didn't know that she had been married or that Lily is not my bio daughter. I suppose she assumed that my daughter was mine and my friend's biological daughter. My sister-in-law got a DNA test done on my daughter behind my back. She used my brother's DNA for the test, and when it came back that they weren't related, she knew that meant that me and Lily weren't related as well. She came up to me with the results and waved them in my face, saying that I was taking care of a dead woman's affair baby. She said this to me in front of my daughter. Oh my goodness. I just stared at her for a while before bursting out laughing at this. You know what, OP, respect. I don't think I would have had that reaction if this was said to me by my sister-in-law in front of my daughter. Wow. I told her I knew Lily wasn't my biological daughter and that this thing called adoption exists. Her face went red and she stormed off. My brother is mad that I embarrassed his fiancée, but I said she embarrassed herself by DNA testing a kid that isn't hers and then parading the results up to me. What does she want me to do? What was her goal with this? Did she want me to break down and abandon my daughter? My brother said she thought she was doing the right thing and called me a jerk. I don't feel like one, especially considering that my sister-in-law was the one who stuck her nose where it doesn't belong. So, I'm asking for Reddit's opinions, mostly just for validation. Was I the jerk? Oh my goodness me. I mean, what a first post. Now, it's pretty obvious, and you can probably guess, guys, that the consensus in the comments down below, and by the way, this has nearly 60,000 upvotes and nearly 10,000 comments, was of course that OP wasn't the jerk here. But as I said, let's get straight into the update for this one before I give my overall thoughts. So here we go. OP says, my sister-in-law ended up coming to my house and apologizing, as well as telling me the full story. My brother put her up to the DNA test. Oh my gosh, it gets even worse. Like, your sister-in-law doing this is one thing, even though OP has said that she knew about what had been going on, and I guess actually maybe she didn't know, which makes it a little bit more acceptable. I say acceptable in very loose terms. Obviously, it's not acceptable at all. But now finding out it was actually your brother who 100% does know about the history of Lily's parents and how you came to be her father, that is absolutely insane. Oh my goodness. OP continues, when I first adopted Lily, my brother for some reason believed that Lily was my bio daughter. He thought that me and Lily's mum were together and just weren't telling anyone. He believes that when she got pregnant, Lily's mum told me that Lily was mine and that she was going to just say that it was her husband's, and I went along with it because I didn't really want kids. My sister-in-law was under the impression that I believed I was Lily's bio dad. She saw the picture of Lily's mum and I, and after asking for clarification on who she was, assumed that we were together in it, and then got suspicious when she saw that the other guy in the picture, Lily's actual bio dad, looked a lot like Lily. I also want to clarify, I didn't tell her that Lily's bio dad was in the picture because she had specifically pointed to Lily's mum, and I assumed that she knew that Lily was adopted. I didn't know that my brother had been telling her lies for nearly 2 years. Okay, fair enough, this actually is getting a little bit more acceptable for OP's sister-in-law. Still doesn't change the fact that she should not be conducting these sort of tests, DNA tests, on anyone that isn't herself. It's still ridiculous, but yeah, let's carry on. So she got the DNA test out of her own suspicions, and my brother helped her with it because he thought it would reveal that I was actually Lily's bio dad. He manipulated her into thinking that it would clear the air of suspicion, when really he was just trying to prove that I was actually Lily's bio dad and lying about the reasons for adoption. Well, of course, the results proved that I wasn't Lily's bio dad and that my brother was wrong. My brother felt too embarrassed to confess to his fiancée that he'd lied about the circumstances, which is why my sister-in-law confronted me with the results. My sister-in-law also apologized for showing me the results in front of my daughter. She told me that her mum had an affair and cheated on her father and got pregnant with another man's kid and had let her father believe the kid was his. Her father was devastated by this when he found out, and she grew very resentful of women who do that to their spouses. She'd wanted to sit me down and talk to me about it without my daughter, but when she saw me with my daughter, she got angry, thinking I was being led on to believe that I was raising my daughter when I was actually raising another man's kid. And she ended up exploding and immediately waved the results in my face. Okay, the more and more I read of this, the more and more acceptable it becomes, but I still don't agree with it. I still think it's very, very wrong to do what she did. Anyway, my sister-in-law does feel very guilty and she's angry at my brother for lying to her. I'm not angry at her for doing the test because she thought she was doing the right thing. I also forgave her for the way she told me about the results because clearly affairs are a sensitive subject for her and I can understand why she would have exploded like that. I'm pretty sure she plans to break up with my brother now, and I don't blame her. When I called and asked my brother about this, he admitted it. When I asked why he would think this, he said that he couldn't think of a reason why a man who had been against having kids at the time would willingly adopt a baby without having a blood connection to it. He told my sister-in-law that I was Lily's bio dad and was aware of the fact. He took it a step further and said that me and Lily's mum were together at the time of Lily's conception. Both me and my parents are going low contact with my brother for a while now. I know I'll forgive my brother eventually, but I can't do that right now. He believed I was low enough to have an affair with a married woman, get her pregnant, take no responsibility, allow her to pass off the kid as another man's, and then only take responsibility because her mum died. Okay, so there we go. So much to unpack there, and yeah, just an absolutely insane story there from start to finish. It did kind of change. The way I expected it to go was not how it ended up going. The fact that actually your sister-in-law and what she did became more and more reasonable the longer the story went on, especially getting into the update there. You know, she's clearly had a lot of trauma herself in terms of this sort of similar situation. And actually, it sounds to me as if, although I still don't agree with what she did, she was trying to help you out. And yeah, I'm not really surprised that she actually jumped to this level of anger and sort of emotion when hearing what your brother was saying to her, which is absolutely incredible. Like, there's no doubt about it. Your sister-in-law still completely violated your daughter's privacy. And then she still, no matter what she was thinking, she should never have said what she said in front of your daughter. She knows firsthand about trauma that happens from childhood, that stems from childhood. Who knows what effect that might have on your daughter throughout the rest of her life. But your brother is the one that is just absolutely insane here. And yeah, I don't know how you could ever have a relationship with him again. Is that salvageable? It can't be. Comments down below. Let me know. Do you think this relationship is just dead now? Personally, I think it has to be. I just don't really know what his intentions were throughout all of this. Unless he's just a crazy individual. What was he even trying to do? Who knows? Now moving on to our final Am I the Jerk post of this episode. Am I the jerk for glowing up after my divorce and not before? I am a 53-year-old woman, and I've been divorced from my ex-husband Larry, who is 54, for 6 years. Larry and I have 2 adult children. Steve, who's a 27-year-old man, you could probably guess that by the fact that his name is Steve, and Carla, who is a 25-year-old woman. Although I will say that if anyone out there called Steve, who is not a man, is listening to this episode or watching this video right now, get in the comments. I'd be interested to see if there is anyone. Larry and I met in college when we were both electrical engineering students. We were both very much on the nerdy side and looked the part, but were very attracted to each other. Or so I thought anyway. We got married soon after we graduated and both worked as engineers, but after a few years, Larry decided he wanted to go to law school to become a patents lawyer. In order to look the lawyer part, Larry underwent a major glow up during this time on pretty much all levels. Tailored clothes, fancy haircuts, designer accessories like watches, etc., along with working out to trade his dad bod for a lean gym bod. During this time, I was having and raising our small children while taking care of about 95% of household matters because of his long working hours, all while working full-time. I admit, I didn't glow up along with Larry. My own appearance has always been on the plainer side. I'm not overweight, but I'm a bit stocky. I'm 5'5" and 140 pounds. I've got simply cut hair, glasses, practical clothes, not much makeup. Larry loved me as is for about the first decade of our relationship. But after he started working as a lawyer, he started to become drawn to more conventionally attractive women and had several affairs. When I pressed for counselling, he said that the issues were things like my big nose, God, and post-baby tummy pooch, not things that I could fix with a simple makeover. I was getting organised to ask for a divorce when Carla was hit by a car while riding her bike. She survived and is fine now, but needed several years of intensive surgeries and rehab. In order to provide a unified front for Carla and Steve, Larry and I agreed to stay married and be as cordial as possible. He continued to see other women during this time, but by this time I was past trying to get him to be faithful. We did separate and divorce after Carla went off to college. Larry is remarried now to a much younger woman. She is 33. In the past couple of years, I've actually decided to focus more on myself, including my appearance. Now that my children are grown and out of the house, and I don't have to worry about tiptoeing around a difficult husband, I finally have time and resources to do so. I didn't get a nose job or other plastic surgery like Larry had wanted, but I did update and colour my hair. I started working out more, lost about 15 pounds. I got a new wardrobe, and I actually started dating. I don't have a steady partner yet, but regularly go to age-appropriate singles events and go on dates. Unfortunately, my children detest the new me. In particular, they blame me for the divorce and are angry that I didn't glow up to accommodate Larry, saying I was too selfish and lazy to do so when it mattered. I did not expect this to go in this direction. I thought this would be Larry saying, "Oh, why didn't you do this when we were together?" Not your own children. Surely they know firsthand the reasons why you didn't do this. Not that you have to do this anyway. That's just insane. Okay, let's carry on. My son Steve is getting married soon and says he is too angry to invite me to the wedding. Carla has gone low contact with me. Oh, wow. I had great relationships with both of them until I started my own glow up process a couple of years ago, which was a few years after Larry and I finalized our divorce. Steve and Carla have told me that the only way to fix this, the only thing that would be fair, is to go back to the way I was before, meaning to stop colouring my hair, dress in my former plain/frumpy way, and stop dating. They say they are the most upset about the dating and that it's not fair for me to be looking for a new partner. Okay, there is so much going on here. So, am I the jerk for everything that I've done here? For not improving my appearance until after I got divorced? I really don't think that Larry would have been faithful to me no matter how much I twisted myself in knots. I felt I did the best I could given the energy and resources I had, and while it may seem selfish, I do believe I deserve to have my own life now, but I'm open to other opinions if I've done something wrong here. What am I reading? I actually just started laughing there because Opie has said, I do believe I deserve to have my own life now. Yes, obviously you do. I cannot believe what your kids have been saying to you. Sorry, let me just jump on Facecam. Okay, with this one, I'm actually going to jump in the comments because a lot of people are saying, like, kind of like me, they're just bemused by what's gone on here, saying, is this even for real? Why do your kids think they have a say in what you wear or, if you lose weight or not, if you get fit, if you date? It's very, very strange. People are saying it's not normal and it's not okay. And if you want to go back, or sorry, if the kids are saying to you to go back to your old self, are they saying to Larry as well that he's got to go back to his old self? Probably not. And also, I think that they're not at the sort of age where they can be influenced to such an extent or like manipulated or gaslit by their dad to such an extent that they'd say these things because of him. Like, how old are they again? They're adults. They're 27 and 25. If my mum, say I put myself in this situation, I'm 26. If my mum was saying some sort of things about my dad, say they'd split up, and then, I was saying in my head, oh, okay, fine, I'll have these opinions because of my mum. No, that wouldn't happen. You can't be influenced at that sort of age to that extent where you're saying that sort of stuff to your mum. It's absolutely insane. Anyway, Opie has said in the comments down below that they, that is her children, think that I'm basically rubbing it in my ex's face and theirs, that I never cared about him because I couldn't be bothered to fix myself up until after we were divorced. I explained that it just had to do with the time and the bandwidth that I now have, that I'm single, my kids are grown up, but they aren't buying it. And no, of course the ex doesn't go back. The kids just think that I deserve to be alone and frumpy, I guess, because I wasn't a perfect wife in my marriage. Your kids are just stupid. How can you, like, unless the, and again, with all these stories, we almost 99% of the time, we only get one side of it. So you do have to bear that in mind a little bit, because it does seem pretty ludicrous that your kids are just suddenly jumping to these crazy conclusions. But let's just take this at face value. Do they not understand the part that you've had to play in their lives, or how much time it takes to be pretty much, you know, it sounds to me as if you were the only one raising your children? What are we doing here? Seriously, what are we doing here? But there we go. That is going to do it for this episode. Again, get your comments in on that last one. What's happened there to make the kids act like this? Who knows? I really would love to know, but there we go. Guys, hope you enjoyed this. If you did and you want more AmITheJerk posts straight away, check out this episode on screen. If you're new to the channel, on whatever platform you're on, hit the follow button, like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments. Did that work? I'm interested to know.